Flowers are the most colorful and beautiful showy organs of the plants. They are so beautiful that they have been an inspiration to poets, an item of decoration, and an item of offering to gods, and a symbol of exchange of goodwill among humans. Functionally, flowers are the reproductive organs of the higher plants like angiosperms. In general, floral parts are organized in four orals. The floral organs, sepals, petals, stamens and pistils make up these orals from outer to the inner circles respectively. These orals have the technical name calyx, corolla, andrecium and gynoecium. Sepals and petals are not directly involved in reproduction, but are accessory structures, often called non-essential parts of the flower. The accessory parts play a role in the process of pollination, that is, dispersal of pollen grains for the purpose of fertilization. Their color attracts the insects and birds which help in pollination. Stamens and pistils are directly involved in the sexual reproduction of the flowers and are referred to as essential parts of the flower. After fertilization, the ovary present in the basal part of the pistil develops into a fruit and forms the seeds for the continuation of the generation. Flower is a modified shoot and the floral parts are the modified leaves. While leaves are vegetative and green, carrying out the process of photosynthesis, floral parts are of various colors and function in reproduction. A species, a genus or even a family can be identified by the morphological features of the flower a plant produces. Floral morphology is the most important tool in the identification and classification of higher plants. Let us see in detail the morphological variations in flowers. That flower is a modified shoot is proved by morphological and developmental similarities between a vegetative shoot and the flower. There are two evidences to prove that vegetative and floral buds are analogous structures. Both vegetative and floral buds emerge either in terminal or in axillary position. Floral buds sometimes get modified to vegetative buds or bulbils as in the plants Allium sativum and agave. In addition to this, the receptacle or thalamus of the flower is similar to the stem axis. This is proved by three observations. Although the internodes in the floral axis remain highly reduced, in many plants the receptacle shows prominent nodes and internodes. This is seen in the plants like Caparis, Gynandropsis and Passiflora. In some plants, the receptacle of the flower continues to grow even after producing all the four types of floral appendages and also produces normal foliage leaves. This happens in plants like rose, larkspur, pear, etc. In plants like Machelia champaca and Polyalthia longifolia, the thalamus elongates like an ordinary stem and bears aggregate fruits. The stalk of the flower through which the flower is attached to the stem is called peduncle or pedicel. A flower with a stalk is a pedicellate flower, but some flowers are directly attached and are called sessile flowers. The receptacle is the modified shoot or the floral axis, and thalamus is the condensed part of the flower. The most attractive parts of the flower are the four orals of sepals, petals, stamens and carpel. The green and leafy sepals form the outermost oral of the flower, referred to as calyx. The calyx is the non-essential accessory part of the flower. The sepals protect the inner parts of the flower during its development and prevent them from becoming dry. When the sepals are free, as in mustard, they are called polysepalous. If they are united, like in hibiscus, then they are called gamosepalous. Some flowers have leaf-like structures below calyx, referred to as epicalyx. The most colorful parts of the flower, the petals, form the second oral. Petals, like sepals, are also non-essential accessory parts of the flower. Petals have various colors and shades. They are also diverse in their structures. They may be wheel-shaped, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, tubular, two-lipped, stalform, and many more. Being brightly colored, the function of the petals is to attract insects and birds for pollination. They also have the function of protecting the inner orals of stamen and carpel. Petals may be free, like in polypetalous flowers, or fused, like in gamopetalous flower. Petals show radial symmetry, like in Vanda orchid, or bilateral symmetry, like in poppy. The stamens, which are the male reproductive organs of the flower, form the third oral called androecium. This is one of the two essential parts of the flower that takes part in sexual reproduction. A stamen has three parts. The filament is the long thin stalk of the stamen to which the anthers are attached at the tip. The part that attaches the anthers to the filament is connective. An anther is usually a cluster of 4 pollen sacs called microsporangia that produces microspores or pollen grains after meiosis. Pollen grains are the haploid male cells that take part in fertilization after pollination. Stamens vary in number and morphology. In a stamen, the anthers may be attached to the filament either at the base or at the back of the anther or at any other point. When stamens are attached to the petals, like in brinjal and datura, they are called epipetalous. If they are attached to tepals, like in lily, they are called epiphyllous. Stamens may be monoadelphous, that is, united to one bundle, like in hibiscus and cotton. Diadelphous stamens are united in two bundles, like in pea and bean. Stamens may also be polyadelphous, that is, united to more than two bundles, as in citrus and castor. When the stamens are united only by anthers, leaving the filaments free, they are termed as syngenesious. Such stamens are found in many families like Rutaceae and Myrtaceae. The syngenesious stamens form a tube that encloses style and stigma. A special condition called synandrous condition is found in the family Cucurbitaceae. Here, out of the 5 stamens, 4 unite to form 2 bundles and 1 remains free, forming a group of 3 bundles of 2 plus 2 plus 1. Each composite structure of 2 bundles shows complete union of the filaments as well as the sinuous anthers. The female essential reproductive part of the flower is known as pistil or carpel or gynoecium. A carpel is a megasporophyll with ovules attached inside. The pollen germinates outside the carpel, grows into it and fertilizes the ovule. Each carpel consists of 3 parts: the stigma, style and ovary. Stigma present at the distal end of the carpel receives the pollen grain and directs its growth towards the ovary through the style. The style is a filamentous hollow stalk that connects the ovary and the stigma. It facilitates the growth of the pollen tube and helps the male gametes to reach the ovary. The ovary is the enlarged terminal portion containing the female reproductive cells called ovules. After fertilization, ovules develop into seeds and the ovary to the fruit. When the carpels are free, then they are called as apocarpus, as in Vinca. If the carpels are fused, then they are called as syncarpus, as in hibiscus. If the gynoecium is attached with androecium at the center of the flower, as in Calotropis, then it is called as gynostegium. Part of the ovary that bears ovules is called placenta, and the arrangement of the ovules within the ovary is called placentation. Based on this arrangement, several types of placentation are recognized. Marginal placenta is a condition in which the ovules are borne on a ridge along the ventral structure of the ovary, forming 2 rows like in pea and beans. Many simple pistils usually have submarginal placenta. When the placenta is axile and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary, then it is called axial placenta, like in hibiscus. In parietal placenta, the ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary or on peripheral part. Here, the ovary is one-chambered. Plants like mustard and poppy have parietal placenta. Sometimes the ovary becomes two-chambered due to the formation of false septa, like in cucurbit. When the ovules are borne on central axis and septa are present, like in dianthus, it is called free central placenta. If the ovules are attached to the roof of the ovary, then it is called apical placenta. If the placenta develops at the base of the ovary and a single ovule is attached to it, as in helianthus, then it is called basal placenta. Floral morphology and arrangement of floral parts has a great importance as a tool in the classification of plants. The taxonomic grouping of families is often done on the basis of arrangement of floral parts. All plants do not produce flowers which will have all the four whorls of sepals, petals, stamens and carpels. On the basis of presence or absence of all the four parts, a flower is classified as complete or incomplete. A complete flower has all the four parts like in hibiscus. An incomplete flower may lack one or more of the four parts of the flower. Flowers which are naked without sepals and petals, like in the members of Piperaceae, are referred to as achlamydeous. If the flowers have one accessory whorl called perianth, like in Polygonaceae and Liliaceae, it is called monochlamydeous. If a flower has two accessory whorls, then it is called dichlamydeous. When both sexual reproductive organs, that is androecium and gynoecium, are present in the same flower, it is a bisexual flower. Instead, if a flower has only androecium or only gynoecium, then it is unisexual and the flowers are staminate or pistillate respectively. Papaya, colocasia, ricinus, mango are some of the plants which have unisexual flowers. In a monoecious plant, both the male and female unisexual flowers are present on the same plant, like in ricinus or colocasia or acalypha. In a dioecious plant, the male and female flowers are present in separate plants, like in papaya. If a plant has bisexual, unisexual and neutral flowers on the same plant, then it is called polygamous, like in mango and polygonum. If a plant produces flowers and fruits only once during its lifetime, like bamboo or agave, it is called monocarpic plant. The plants which produce flowers and fruits many times during their lifetime, like mango or pear, are polycarpic plants. If the flowers open and expose the stamens and styles for cross-pollination by wind, water, birds and insects, they are called chasmogamous flowers. Pollination occurs by wind in wheat and corn, by water in hydrilla and elodea, by birds in butea and elingera, and by insects in orchids and many other flowers. Some plants have cleistogamous flowers which do not open and are self-pollinated. Cleistogamous flowers are found in many types of plants like violets, rushes and grasses. Some plants like water lilies produce both types of flowers depending on the weather conditions. In rainy weather, lilies produce cleistogamous flowers that do not open. This ensures that pollens are not damaged by water. Under sunny weather, the flowers are open or they are chasmogamous and are pollinated by insects. In most of the flowers, the floral parts are arranged in a cyclic fashion and the flowers are called cyclic flowers. For example, in cosmos, jasmine, the floral parts are cyclic. In some plants like rose and sunflower, The floral parts are spirally arranged and the flowers are called spiral flower. Rarely, as in Ranunculaceae, the floral parts may be arranged both in circles and in spirals, and the flowers are called spirocyclic or hemicyclic flowers. Some plants like Artocarpus and Ficus produce flowers on old stem from dormant buds, and this is referred to as cauliflory. In a regular or actinomorphic flower, the sepals and petals are of similar size and shape, and they are divisible into equal halves along more than one plane. Such flowers are found in many common plants like jasmine, rose, mustard, datura, chili, cosmos, etc. In a irregular or zygomorphic flower, the sepals and petals are dissimilar in shape and the flower is divisible into equal halves only on one plane. For example, flowers of pea, bean, sessalpine, etc. are zygomorphic. The mode of arrangement of sepals and petals in a flower with respect to the other members of the same whorl is referred to as estivation. The arrangement of sepals and petals in a whorl is of considerable importance in taxonomy and helps in the identification of plants. There are two broad groups of floral leaves, that is sepals and petals. Either they are arranged in one whorl or they are not in one whorl. When they are in one whorl, they are further classified as valvate and contorted or twisted. In valvate flowers, the floral leaves in a whorl may just touch one another at margins without overlapping. This type of arrangement is common in members of family Annonaceae like Annona squamosa, Artabatres, and in Mimosae like in Acacia. When the floral leaves are not in one whorl, then they are classified to three groups. In imbricate flowers, the petals are not in one whorl and the margins of the petals do not overlap in any particular order. Members of the family Sessalpinae like Sessalpinia and Cercis have this type of flower. If the floral leaves are spirally arranged instead of being in a whorl, then the flower is called quincunential. Here, the first and the second leaves are external, the third leaf is partly external, and the fourth and the fifth leaves are internal, as seen in the plant guava. Vexillary estivation is common in the members of the family Papilionaceae, and it is referred to as papilionaceous corolla. Here, the posterior vexillum overlaps the two alae, which again overlap the paired anterior carina. In most of the monocot plants, sepals and petals cannot be distinguished in a flower and they form a general whorl of floral leaves. This whorl of floral parts is called perianth. The perianth may be brightly colored like petals. In other words, they may be petaloid in nature like in Gloriosa superba and Crinum asiaticum. The perianth in some members of Amarantaceae is membranous and persistent. In Graminaceae, the perianth is represented by two lodicules as seen in Festuca. Flowers of Festuca pratensis also show feathery stigma and versatile anthers. If the perianth members are free from one another, as in Gloriosa superba, the perianth is termed as polyphylous. When the perianth members are united, as in Polyanthus tuberose, the perianth is gamophilous. On the basis of the position of the ovary, three types of flowers are recognized. They are hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous flowers. In a hypogynous flower, the ovary is superior and the remaining floral organs, that is, sepals, petals, and stamens, arise from below the point of origin of carpel. Rose, cherry, peach, magnolia are some of the examples of hypogynous flowers. In a perigynous flower, the sepals, petals, and stamen are fused to a cup around the ovary called hypanthium or floral cup. Since the hypanthium surrounds the ovary, such flowers are called perigynous. For example, prunus flowers are perigynous. In epigynous flowers, the ovary is inferior. Sepals, petals, and stamens are present above the ovary. For example, Enothera has epigynous flowers. In epigynous flowers, the hypanthium is fused to the gynoecium and the free floral parts like sepals, petals, and stamens appear to be attached to the top of the gynoecium, like in apple, pear, aster, etc. Flower is the reproductive organ of the plant, and the floral parts are designed to assist in this function. Stamens and ovary are the essential parts participating in fertilization. Other parts are accessory, assisting in pollination and protection. Variations in the morphology and arrangement of floral parts are an important tool in taxonomy for identification and classification of plants.